If you need me to, I can, but you know.
I think
Well, we've got Sander in the house just kicking about doing nothing.
Oh, is he in the
Yeah,
Discord?
I'm going to give him a nudge in a minute.
Anyway, back to the topic at hand.
Hello.
Mark.
Yeah.
Beans and coleslaw with pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're up and running again. It is saying live for me, but then
I'm here, by the way, lads.
Yeah,
Hi,
hey,
mate.
Sander. Hey.
Yeah, sorry, I went for a piss. So.
Oh, it looks like we're on a completely different stream, though, apparently.
yeah, this is the annoying thing. I bet it's knocked us off, even though it should be the same.
It has knocked us off because the thing is, at the moment, it's basically saying it's got 2 hours of playback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's saying live, but it's not actually linking to a live stream, which is a bit weird.
Yeah, on 2 hours, bang on 2 hours, it just cuts to dead.
I think there's probably a cut-off time then. If you're off the line for so long, it probably just reboots as a new stream.
Yeah. I don't know where that new stream is, though.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, because it's exactly 2 hours to the second. That's a bit too much of a coincidence, isn't it?
But we have been streaming for 3 hours.
Probably done something very strange.
To be fair, it was just an outage with my internet, so. Cause
Yeah, that's brutal.
Discord went as well, because I was chatting away and I was like, oh, they've just disappeared, and yeah.
Yeah, because I was chatting
Well,
away.
it says there's
the stream went offline.
1,800 people watching.
Yeah, but that's not actually people watching, though.
No.
I think that's just people left in the old stream thinking we're still going to do something.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Oh, we signed Mertens. No, we didn't really, but imagine. Imagine.
Sorry, everyone, if you're watching.
Sorry.
If you're not watching,
Yeah.
never mind. So,
It'd be typical, wouldn't it? But
Okay.
oh,
you were back,
yeah,
and it
we
must
were
be us
back
just
and they're
talking
off.
garbage live on air. Great.
just very quickly, do you want me to take over quickly and just relaunch a new stream?
But why would that work, though? Because then you're going
No,
to...
you're back, Mark.
Oh, you're back.
You're back
Okay.
again.
Yeah.
Back you again.
Oh yeah, we're
Hi,
back again.
everyone. Hi. Sorry.
What, on the original stream?
Yeah, we're back on the original
Yeah.
stream, 3,738.
See, I'm still getting the old me.
I'm got the new you.
I've
We got
the
it all near you.
I got the new improved Goldbridge right here. So everyone in the live comments, like, what the hell's going on? We are back, everyone. Hi, we're Wave. Mark's not entirely sure what's going on. Neither
No.
are we, to be fair.
The joys of live broadcasting, right?
Yeah, yes, this is what you expect to happen on a live stream. So
Yeah, you see, all I'm getting is my old stream when I go onto it, so I can't find where the live comments are for this stream, which is a pain in the backside.
I got a funny feeling bandwidth is probably a bit too much. So I'll do a bit. I'll tell you what, Sandra, Paul, talk to yourself a minute. Me and Mark will I'll try and look at some stuff, and Mark can try and pick some things. So
No worries, we'll do.
You're right, Sander.
I'm good at that. Yeah, not bad, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not too shabby. Yeah, you can probably do it all by yourself, mate. But I'm here for backup if you need me.
I just it's a habit I've got into, talking to myself. It's it's socially usually unacceptable, but it comes in handy at times.
Well, it's okay if you are by yourself, but if you're with other people, it just looks weird.
Oh yeah, no, I regularly do that. Just sort of in lifts and sort of silent, crowded situations. I just look at a wall and start talking to myself.
Just have a little wee word with yourself, do you? Just to calm
I mean,
yourself down.
Yeah, and I think that's something that all the live comments need to. I think it's something we need to look forward to as well, because it's the way forward, isn't it? It's the 21st century. Get with it.
Well, we'll see you on the Sounders on the Street soon with just talking to yourself with nobody else. 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. If anyone wants to see me sort of plod about Old Trafford, talking to myself with lots of some sort of annoying music in the background, then I can do that. You know, if the market's there for it, I'll do it.
There's a call to 999 right there, mate. To be honest,
Yeah.
I think, you know, they're going to be like.
Imagine that people like, oh my god, someone's come all the way from America for their first time visiting Old Trafford. Oh my god, look, there's Sander. Not that I'm very important. There's Sander from the United Stand. What's he doing? He's just talking to a wall.
He's been at it for 90 minutes now. He's just absolutely going at himself, and I don't know who's winning.
Yeah, he's banging his head against it now. Jeez, we've got to call 999. Anyway, How is everyone in the comments? I see you guys are chatting away. Someone
Are
said,
we
"Go,
live?
Bruno Fernandes." Yeah. What do you reckon?
We're
mate, Bruno
sort of
Fernandes?
live. We are sort of live at the moment. The stream health isn't looking too good. So few technical
Well,
difficulties, but
We've got a few thousand watching, and as far as I can hear, we're coming across from Discord, so we may as well get chatting about United rather than Sanders' mental health problems.
There's nothing funny about that. I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
saying.
I'm not belittling mental health problems in the slightest.
No, we're not
I should
doing
probably
that. 'Cause if we were to do that,
retract
that would be bad. Yeah.
Yes, no, the awareness is good, though.
Yeah, but if you
Um,
are talking to yourself, then probably seek help.
Yes, answering yourself is even worse. But how are you feeling about today, Sander, in terms of transfer deadlines? Confident or not?
Another day, innit? Oh, wait, no, that's not what you're supposed to say on a transfer deadline day live stream, is it? No,
probably,
to be honest, it doesn't seem likely that we're going to sign anyone, does it? Obviously, we had the big news over the sort of the course of the last 2 days that Bruno Fernandes is going to be signing. Obviously, absolutely over the moon about that. We needed a player like that. We've always wanted him. It's just, as I've said in various Bruno reaction videos, this is par. This is where you kick on from. You don't sit back now if you're Ed Woodward on the board and go, do you know what? Bish, bash, bosh, fans are happy, Bruno's in, we sit back now and have a cup of tea. Now is when you go on and sign people. Now, I don't know whether there's time to do that in January or not, but whether it be during the summer, you're making plans, you kick on, you sign a James Maddison or a Jack Grealish, you sign a left-back replacement for Luke Shaw, and you kick on. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, I do, exactly. But that's been our problem over how many years now? Mark's mentioned it a long time ago oh, you're still there?
there's a few technical difficulties. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
So,
but anyway, Mark has mentioned that previously, and whenever we didn't get in the Champions League, we seemed to kick on with transfers, and whenever we made Champions League, we seemed to take our foot off the pedal, which is probably one of the reasons why we stagnated, because when you do well, you kick on to get better, but we have not done that. Basically down to the finances. When we got to Champions League, we didn't want to spend the money. When we weren't in the Champions League, we wanted to spend the money to get to the Champions League. So it all comes down to cash, which is, to the Glazers, basically.
I think we're up and running now. I know we're live, and I'm sure everybody can. I hope everyone can hear everybody else talking, because otherwise I've just been quiet for a while. Quiet mark alert. Yeah, we've just had a few problems. We were live on a totally different stream, which means that we should be able to come back to this one, and then we had a problem with that. So we are back now. So I think it's just started as a brand new stream, which is a bit disappointing because we were in a nice groove with about 11,000 people watching, and now we're down to 5. So hopefully they'll find their way back. But yes, we are live. Everything's good. Smash a like on video. Subscribe if you are new. And the situation is this. I may as well say it because we're on a new stream. Josh King doesn't look like he's coming to United now, and with 5 hours to go, it could be a gala. It's a bit like that game, isn't it? It could be. It's that I'm a celebrity. Tonight, at gala, it could be you. Joshua King, it's not you. Cavani, it's not you. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment.
Well, everybody's in the chat at the moment, Mark. We got me, Paul Robinson, obviously, Drawty, and Sander. So we've got a big party going on for the transfer deadline.
Manchester Evening News is saying that Manchester United is still working on a last-minute deal to get a striker to the club on loan, and I can't see. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I can't see that be anybody other than Agala. Oliver Kay says bidding for Josh King on January the 30th and then thrashing around looking at loans deal for Agala really doesn't do much to inspire belief in the structure or strategic vision of United. They've needed a new striker since deciding at the end of last season that they'd sell Lukaku. I think that's a very, very valid point. Gayton's on the way to Lille, apparently. Remember when we used to be in him? Graham Bailey says on Agala, his camp are still getting calls from United, but others too, and deal could be done via email. Only issue is that he would not be available for 2 to 3 weeks, and that's if things go smoothly. Bloody hell. And James Robson says, Agala started the day below King, but that has changed as the hours have gone by, and following Solskjaer's transfer meeting at Carrington, have to think alone is United's best move, and as things stand, King is highly unlikely to go through. I think we'd all agree that we'd take King over Agala. Live comments and everyone?
Mark, can I just interject there very quickly? Because Man United have just put up a video of Bruno Fernandes. It's on Pro Evolution Soccer 2020. So basically, they've put him as a 3D CGI model, and the Man United PR train is already in full effect. So
a little link up with Pro Evo.
Yeah,
Do you
straight
remember
away.
last year when we signed Daniel James and they milked it for like 3 weeks and it was a £15 million championship player?
Yeah, feels like that again. They're already on the bandwagon, so Pro Evolution Soccer, straight into it.
How do you guys feel then about the fact that we're having to go to deadline day and sign a striker of probably older age on loan? What do you guys think that tells us about the situation at Man United?
We're desperate. Let's be honest, we are desperate. I mean, our best player's out long term. The Rashford injury has pretty much put us backwards. So, and Martial's not able to cut it at the moment, unfortunately. Then
Why do you
we've
think that
got.
is?
I just don't think Martial is what everyone seems to think he is. I think everyone seems to think he's this world-class striker. He's never been a world-class striker. He's a mercurial talent who on his day can do amazing things, but he's not going to win you a game on his own. He's not the kind of player who, say, like a Cantona was, or, you know, even a Keane who'll just grab it by the scruff of the neck, or, you know, a Ruud van Nistelrooy who just smashes in the goals for fun. He's just not that type of player. I don't think Martial by himself is a world-class player who's going to basically win a game for you.
So
Thoughts
along those
on
lines,
Belotti,
then,
says MC
go on.
Fudge, or getting Jovic on loan, which could lead to a permanent move and swap for Pogba plus money. I just want to just say to everybody who's watching, the Jovic thing it needs to stop. Like, Jovic is actually playing games for Real Madrid. Like, he actually is starting at the moment. So, and he's never been on the equation. So, you've got Igalo or nothing, I think. And what about Kasper Dahlberg from Nice? Young striker, tall and fast, only 20. Also from Norway. Well, Ollie should know all about him, Thomas Lloyd-Evans. But no, I think it will be Igalo or no one.
Right, I've got to go, guys. Sorry.
No worries. Okay.
Gonna love you and leave you, and hopefully the rest of the stream holds out okay. But let's just see if we sign a striker. I doubt it, but there you go.
Cheers for coming on, pal. Thank you.
Laters.
See you, bye.
Yeah, mate. Mark, do you agree with what Drawty was saying then? What do you agree with what you're saying about Martial?
I think with Martial at the moment, it's interesting, isn't it? I'm a big fan of Martial's. I think he gets a lot of unfair stick, but is he a number 9? I thought at the start of the season he was showing so much improvement, and then I thought, you know, he's older. He does do a lot off the ball that people don't realise. The runs he makes, the hold-up play. But to be honest, I think the last couple of games he hasn't looked good. Which allows the people to jump on the bandwagon and who don't like Martial and say he's rubbish, this, that and the other. But I think that Martial probably is one of our best players. Marcus Rashford, when he played where Martial was when Martial was injured, he was rubbish. And that was when people started calling him Trashford. Rashford went onto the wing and suddenly he's one of the best players in Europe. And he is. Obviously he's not now because he's injured. So I think if you put Martial on the left wing, you'd get a brilliant Martial. I think what we're doing is we're turning Martial into a number 9, and I think we've seen some good bits, but over the recent weeks we've seen some bad bits. I mean, against Burnley he should have scored 2, shouldn't he? And he didn't. So
and against Liverpool, that chance.
That chance against Liverpool as well. So he's going through a bit of a bad patch, but I think people take that bad patch and turn it into he's a bad player. I think he's actually had a good season. I don't know about you, Paul.
As Drorty said, I think he's a mercurial talent. I think he turns it on it's not even when he wants to. I don't know what affects Martial, but something obviously does, because he's got all the talent in the world to be a world-class striker or a winger, in my opinion. But he doesn't quite. He seems to step up and then go back down. Flex said it well earlier. Has he improved in 5 years of being in the club? Now, he came in with a certain amount of talent. I don't think he has added to that a great deal. I think he does the same things he did before, just a little bit better. I think he stagnated under the managers that he had, so that was unfortunate. But I think the frustration comes from me when I look at Martial. All I think is you could be so much more better, and you're not, and I can't think why. Because talent-wise, he's got everything that he needs.
But for you then, Paul, and go on, Mark. Sorry.
His best season for United is still his first season under Van Gaal.
That's crazy, isn't it?
There you go.
So where's the line for you guys then? Where's the line? So, and this goes out to the comments as well. Where's the line? At what point do we go, you know what, Martial, you've had your time. We've got to move you on. Because I'm a big fan of him, and I think he's got a lot of talent, as you guys say. But, you know, there's got to be a point where you've got to move on, you know?
Great question.
Well, he's only just signed a new deal, hasn't he? And I think that with regards to Martial, there's many more problems than him that need to go. Yep. It may be more about bringing more quality. Well, it is. We're talking about that now. We need to bring more quality in, and maybe Martial drops to the bench because he's not performing or whatever. But I don't think we're at the point where, you know, the big mistake we've made is to get rid of a player we don't want in Lukaku and Sanchez and then not replace them. So Martial's not a player that's going anywhere at United anytime soon, because we'd have to bring 3 forwards in for that. We've still got to replace Lukaku and potentially Sanchez, and although he apparently is going to come back and prove us all wrong in the summer.
Yeah, and he's been messed about. Martial's been messed about in terms of the players he's got around him, in terms of the systems he's been put in terms of being taken out the team for replaced from Sanchez when he was on form and just coming good. He's been stagnated. He's been messed about. He's never had a consistent, proper run down to his form also. So he's not completely blameless in that. But also he's been here a long time. So both sides of the coin, people who argue for and against him have both got valid points to do so. And I was looking for this season to be his breakout season, to be honest, because we knew we were short in numbers up front. And I don't really think he's taken that.
Well, I think that... Sorry. I think that I think to the start of the season for him looked like it could be, and then he got that injury, then he came back, and I think actually up until probably the Burnley game he was looking really good, but I think he is now suffering with what every United player is suffering. I mean, look, let's not. And just on transfers, everybody, let me just say we will keep you up to date. At the moment, it's no Josh King, it's no Cavani, it's no Haaland, as we know. It's Ighalo or nothing at the moment. And Dortmund have just signed Emre Can, sorry. But if we do get Ighalo, I mean, this will develop over the next few hours. If we do get Ighalo, apparently he can't play for 3 weeks anyway. So, you know, that shortens what would surely be only a loan deal anyway. But yeah, I think with Martial, he is. I think there's a good player in there. I think we don't. The hard thing I find with our strikers, and I don't know what anyone else says. I mean, Salah Ahmed says, I believe that for Martial to succeed as a striker, he needs a playmaker to feed him and create chances for him. Yeah. Bruno to create chances for him. Yeah, well, yeah, this is it. This is exactly what I think, because I think that with Martial and Dan James and Greenwood, I can't deny that at times, you know, they're not playing as well as they could do. Having said that, I thought the criticism they got on Wednesday against Man City was wrong, because especially Martial, I was like, well, yeah, he didn't hold the ball up a couple of times and his passing was a bit off, but can you tell me where these where this good ball into the channels, chances created for him were against Man City? They just weren't there. And Harry Kane's a player at Spurs that averages around 4 chances a game. Even Lukaku, when he scored 28 goals, was only averaging like 2.5 chances a game. We don't create enough chances for our strikers. So I guarantee if you look at Martial's chances this season, goal scoring chances against somebody else. In fact, I can probably do that while you two are talking. It will be really, really low. Josh Sutton says Martial has been made redundant by poor formations and player signings. Mourinho did a lot of damage to his development. He's choked of service by Ollie. And Paul, I would say that, you say he's not really settled, and we are streaming till 11 Hayes Skills, yeah. I said that Martial's best season was his first season. If you look at that United side in his first season, it was probably one of the most settled and experienced sides he's played in his 5 years.
I think the same thing. And I was thinking when you were talking before, Mark, I was thinking of a little analogy, and I thought you can't be a good postman if you're not given any mail to deliver, can you? So you can't be a good striker if you've not got any chances to put away. And yes, he's had a few chances, but as you say, Harry Kane, Lukaku, and other good strikers, they get 4 or 5 chances a game, and they'll score maybe 1 or 2. Martial isn't getting that at the moment, and we're saying that we haven't seen the full potential of Martial. That's because I don't think he's really ever been in a system that suits him and that's set up for him. So you can't expect him to thrive if he's not in that system,
Yeah, definitely.
But also, he's got to improve his movement, and he's also got to score the scrappy goals, which he doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. That's what Ollie's talked about a lot, and hopefully we can see that happen more. And if he doesn't, we've heard Ollie say he wants a striker like that. So whether that's Martial or someone that he's going to bring in, he will get that player. It's just who it is.
And I'll tell you what, when he plays with Pogba, he's a different animal.
Yeah.
Martial.
Oh, it's like Martial and Rashford are different together, aren't they, as well?
100%. And I think this goes for a manager as well. You're only as good as the players around you at times. Obviously, some players can create bits and bobs by themselves. But as I keep saying, Martial and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if you've not got the players around you or under your sort of managerial reign, then you're only going to be as good as them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but Mark said it before. There's teams like Sheffield United. Sorry, their players are nowhere near as good as us, but they've got a structure, a style, and they've been coached into it. They know exactly what each other are going to do. And sometimes when United go out there, they look like they've never played before together. Then no one knows what's going to happen on the pitch, and that's down to Ollie, regardless of how good the players are. In my opinion, it should be get the structure right, get the style right, then add players to that style. It just seems to be done the other way around with United for some strange reason.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I've seen someone saying Sander makes so many excuses for Ole. And, I will admit, sometimes I'm slightly over-optimistic. And I do admit that Ole is not faultless in any way, shape or form. But there's so many times that I've seen the ball, in the transition, it gets to Lingard or Pereira, and it just breaks down every time. And I think if we had someone there like Bruno who could pick a pass and be the glue between the midfield and attack, you're going to see so many more chances created.
That's why I'm so interested to see what Bruno does, because I think you bang on there. It breaks down in that exact area. If Bruno can be that key to unlock it all, we could see an entirely different United, and Ollie's system could come into play. So, this is going to be interesting month.
I'm working through some interesting stats, but let me just read some super chats. Ryan FTW says, can genuinely see Ollie sticking with this stupid 5-3-2 and having Bruno as the CAM behind 2 wide forwards in Martial and Rashford. He has hinted at that. Smith Jones says, Van Gaal's style of play best suits Martial's game. If you notice, he lays off a pass, makes a run, then we pass to Maguire or De Gea. He needs support. Jordan Such, if Anthony Martial was a Stoke player when Tony Pulis was the manager, how would he get on? I say Stoke because that is how we play for parts of the season, especially against City on Wednesday. It's true. And Dylan Sup says, Martial moving on only when someone comes in, or Greenwood at number 9 hits big goals. Martial is class and suffers from a lack of chance creation from midfield and poor fitness regime at the club. And I think a lot of people are saying that. Look, there's people who don't rate Martial. I accept that, but I think a lot of people understand that it's the way that we play. What about this Ole Gunnar Solskjaer going to play a back 5 or a 3 centre backs? What do you lads think about that?
I think, sorry, Paul, I didn't want to cut you off, but I think
No, crack on.
I remember Conte, and by no means am I going to say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to have the same success as Antonio Conte, but with Antonio Conte at Chelsea, he started the season with a back 4. Then he went out with a back 3 or 5, and he pumped someone because it wasn't working. He pumped someone, and then won the league that season because he consisted with that same formation. Now, as I said, I don't think that Ole's now going to win the league with this 5 at the back. But sometimes, things work and you stumble across something and it works and you consist with it,
Yeah, I think with a 3-5-2, you need the 3 defenders with a CDM sitting in front of them to do the defending, or work into a box to form the defence. And then you need 2 very attacking wing backs to be able to create chances and create space for the people and the attackers in the middle. We haven't got that. In terms of Luke Shaw, he doesn't go past or do many overlaps. He does some, but he never gets found. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka can't attack. So I don't think we've got the players to play that particular system
Williams
very well.
and Diogo Dalot, they're very attacking.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think to follow up that. So as I said, I spoke to some Portuguese media the other day when I was outside Old Trafford filming some bits and bobs, and I was asking them about Bruno and all this sort of stuff, you know, getting their Portuguese perspective on it, and then they actually went, "What do you think of Dalot?" And I went, "Don't know really. He's been injured for a lot of the time." They said, "Stick with him. Honestly, he's only 20. He's fantastic going forward, and he'll really develop into a great player." And that's what they've thought. I'd be interested to see where you guys stand on Dalot.
I think Delot's injury prone, and I think that's always a first thing that you have to overcome. And I think Luke Shaw gets a lot of stick, doesn't he? But ultimately, Luke Shaw had a very, very bad injury, and then he's come back, and he doesn't really get that injured that much now. I know he still picks up a few injuries, but Dalot is a player that we bought injured and has spent a lot of time injured. So I struggle to get excited about Dalot or Eric Bailly, to be honest, because they're so injury prone, and I just can't, I can't be a hypocrite and say that, Phil Jones is always injured, he's a waste of space, and not say the same about Dalot and Eric Bailly, because until they can stay, I think Eric Bailly is potentially one of the best centre backs in Europe. I think I rate him that highly, but he's got some issues about his positional sense, but his major issue is what he does with his body. Dalot, I don't know about Dalot. He's got some real ability. He was scouted by more than us. There was more than us who wanted him. I think Real Madrid wanted him, PSG. So very, very good talent, but he's just got to stay fit. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. For me, with Dalot and the difference between Dalot and Bailly, Bailly just had a little bit more time at the club to see how it pans out. And for me, I'm kind of at my I'm kind of done with him, to be honest. But with Dalot, if he continues like this for the next 1 or 2 years, there's no room for passengers, no time for passengers at Manchester United, so you've got to ship them on.
Just having a quick look if there's any updates on the transfer window.
What do we know about this Ighalo then? Because maybe I hold my hands up. I don't know too much about him. If we do go out and sign him, which whether we do or not is still out to be seen. But what sort of player is he?
Fabrizio Romano has apparently said that Manchester United are working on deals for Ighalo and King, but both are complicated. Slimani is the last option, which is also complicated. Fucking hell. We've hit the bottom, folks. I said we hadn't hit the bottom of the barrel yet. Bloody hell. We're working on Ighalo, Josh King and Slimani. This is, if you'd said this 6 years ago, what would you have done? If I'd have said to you 6 years ago, we won't win a title, and on January the 31st, we'll be actually trying to get Josh King, Slimani or Ighalo. I think, well, obviously 6 years ago, a lot of them weren't as old and crap as they are now, but, I think it's appalling. I really do. I think it's piss poor planning, as per usual, by Manchester United, and that's what's left us in this situation. Josh Sutton says, I still think keeping 4-2-3-1 is the best option, and Dalot could be a good shout for right wing if he keeps fit till the end of the season, along with James. Coming back to Ighalo, because he's obviously, I was hoping that something out of nowhere, some deal for bloody, I don't know, Neymar was going to come up or something. But with regards to Ighalo, 30 years of age now, was playing in the Premier League for Watford in his mid-20s. He was always a typical sort of, when you play a Watford or a Bournemouth, you're not worried, you think you're going to win, but you know that one of their strikers is quite, a bit like Demba Ba in a way. I mean, just on their day, could be quite a threat, but massively inconsistent. That's what I remember him as, Paul Ighalo.
Yeah, I don't remember anything special. He had that one half a season, didn't he, where he's absolutely spectacular. And then he died off. Going for any of these three strikers is criminal. The only reason we're doing it is because we're desperate, and then we're stuck with a permanent signing, if there is, for 2.5 years on someone on too much money you won't be able to get rid of. I don't understand any of it, Mark, to be honest. 6 months loan, yeah, it's going to be all right. I mean, we can get rid of him after. But
he might be in China for 6 months. Planning. If he's in China, it might take him 6 months to get out.
I don't want him, do we?
Yeah.
Well, I like a corona, but not the virus.
Beto says it's been confirmed that Woodward's condition to buying Bruno was that he doesn't start the game, he comes in at the 58th minute. Well, we might talk about that protest thing in a bit. But Ighalo's 30. I mean, look, my issue with Ighalo is nothing to do with our future. He's 30. He's playing in the Chinese league. So, I mean, if we get him in for the Chelsea game, and that's pushing it, it'll probably take him 2 or 3 months to get adjusted to the Premier League, and then we'll be at the end of the season anyway. We've had this chat, by the way, but so I don't want to go over it. But I don't get why United are looking for old players to come in on loan for 6 months. It's a crazy thing. And Jordan Bowden says Igala for 6 months, but he's not going to hit the ground running, is he? He's basically playing in a pub league, to be honest with you, and he hasn't played at this level for a long, long time. So, I mean, I know we do need bodies. We definitely do. Damien Morgan, welcome to the channel, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. But it is odd. It is an odd deal for Manchester United to be doing. And I didn't like the Josh King deal, but at least he's Premier League proven, a little bit younger. I don't know. I despair at it. I do despair it. I don't think.
Out of those three, Igalo, Slimani, and Josh King, which one would you guys go for?
Mertens.
Nah. Yeah.
None of them. I mean, can you choose between any of them? They're all very similar in the way they play football and their age. And there's just nothing between them. They're all bulk standard, big, good in the air, can hold up the ball, can't do much else strikers. Now, they might prove me wrong, obviously, but I can't see any being any different. I think any of them are going to do the same job.
I think that's something that we'd need, though. I think, a bit of an older player, a bit of a rough and tumble kind of experienced lad. Yeah, he might not set the world alight, but he's not going to be demanding starts. He will break his nose as Ole wants to score a goal, and just come off the bench, a bit of a plan B option. I think I wouldn't be absolutely against a Josh King or someone like that.
The thing is, though, in some ways, when Rashford was fit and you looked at Haaland, or people mentioned Mandzukic, you're right, that plan B option was mentioned. But the problem with Igalo is that he's not a plan B option. He's got to be we're looking for somebody like a Mertens or whoever to replace Rashford. That's what we're looking for until Rashford gets back, because we're so thin on the ground. So this loan option, or this striker we're looking for, is no longer the plan B option. It's somebody to come in and do Rashford's job, because we're going to need somebody to do it because we're so thin. And a Giroud or a Cavani or a Slimani, who are slower than your dead gran, they're not going to be good. We know how we play. We soak up pressure and we hit on the break. And Giroud may be very good at holding the ball up, and I'm only using Giroud as an example, or Slimani might be good at holding the ball up. But in United's team, they're going to be holding the ball up on the halfway line. How long is it going to take him to get to the box? So we need basically, if we're bringing somebody in on loan, for me, one of the biggest traits has got to be pace, because that's our strength, is hitting teams on the break. And out of all of them, Igala is the quickest and Josh King is the quickest out of everybody. So for me, Josh King would be the one. But do I want Josh King? Not really. I just don't think it's the standard of player.
Do you remember when we had Fellaini, and we always used to think, well, I think we're just going to wait until 75 minutes and then we're going to dump Fellaini on and try and get a headed goal to win it. That's what I imagine we're going to do when we get any of these big strikers. Is don't worry, 65 minutes we can bring on a big guy and start lumping it up front. Hopefully he can do something. That's not what I want, and that kind of regresses the style that we're working towards, in my opinion.
Do you think, Dylan Supp says we should be going for Arnautovic, he's Premier League proven. Again, I mean, Arnautovic is a good big player, but I don't think he's going to work for us in that sort of situation. And Zed Jamie says, would you rather us just play a bag of cement up front and sign any of them, or anyone from the youth? I mean, I think the big thing for me, and I want to ask live comments as well, and the lads, is what... Now that the Bruno Fernandes deal is done, and, I was very excited yesterday, but reality bites. It's like the day after Christmas, isn't it? You're back to normal. And we start tomorrow with Bruno Fernandes. And now the buzz is starting to drop off a bit. Realism is starting to bite with me, i.e. that squad's is still not very good. And what do you think is going to happen with Bruno Fernandes with regards to... Do you think there's going to be an improvement in the team? And do you think there's going to be an improvement in the results and the way that we play?
I think there will naturally be an improvement with the team and the performances and the results, because he is an upgrade on anything we've got. And so, slipping into that number 10 or 8 position, he will improve us. It's just how much he'll be able to improve us. That's the difference, isn't it? Because he is not going to solve all our problems, as you say. And there are wider problems at Manchester United. But I do think, as I said before, when we've seen plays and performances where we've gone forward, passed it to Jesse or Pereira, and it's broken down, in those sort of moments, that won't happen. We will be able to break out. We will be able to slip the strikers in.
Yeah, and do you know what? When you got a player like that, it builds the confidence of the people in front of him. Players make runs when they know their teammates are going to put the ball through. They make runs when they see a teammate do it all the time. It's like when Pogba's on the pitch, we play entirely different because the forwards know that Pogba can put it on a sixpence wherever they're running to. If Bruno can do that as well, it will flow through the confidence of the whole attacking play and the dynamism of it and the movement. So that's what I'm hoping, Mark. That's what I think Bruno might bring to the team. But we've got to put that movement in front of him to be able to get the best out of him.
Yeah,
such a leader. He's such a leader as well. I was speaking. Sorry, Mark.
Nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. So, as I keep saying, I keep bringing it up. But speaking to these Portuguese lads outside Old Trafford, and they were like, he's such a nice guy, but he's such a leader. He's always in the referee's ear. He said he knows how to charm them. He knows how to put pressure on them, and that sort of leadership that we lack so often at Manchester United at the moment, I think Bruno Fernandes will bring as well.
Very interesting tweet here that somebody's actually retweeted. It's from 31st of August 2012, and it's from Gary Neville. And he says, so it's 8 years old, this. He says, what the transfer deadline gives you is a clear indication of which are the badly run football clubs. Wow. That, like a fine wine, that has aged perfectly, isn't it? That it's almost like, United can't. Somebody said to me today, "Are you running the Manchester United Twitter account today because it's all about Bruno Fernandes?" And I said, "Of course I'm not running it, but it is all hilarious because they are so full of backslapping themselves about a deal they denied they were trying to do in the summer made people who knew that they were trying to do it look like liars." So they're now backslapping themselves saying what a great job we've done, and yet they've destroyed that deal. Well, they haven't destroyed it, it's still a great deal, but what I mean is, as a football club, they do something absolutely amazing, and then the very next day you go and chase a Garlo. I mean, it's just typical United. But got a few super chats to read here. Joel Morris, would you take Christian Doige at United? He's playing well in the Scottish League. Nope. Zachary Purvis says we need a large body in the games against teams that sit deep and let us have possession. Whoever we get won't play the games where teams attack us, but instead give us a plan B versus bad footballing teams. As I said to Xander, Zachary, I don't agree with you on that one. I don't think... How can we be looking for a plan B when we haven't got enough people to play plan A? I think this striker needs to come in and do Rashford's job somehow.
I would argue Rashford isn't really a striker, though. He's more of a left winger. So I think this striker that we're trying to get would probably more replace Martial's position, no?
Yeah. Akshay Shastri says, what do you think about Mario Götze? Can be striker and CAM option, 27 and class. Matas Kunna, an RP Leipzig young player. Well, maybe you should get a job, Akshay, for our scouting, because it's crap. Big G says, as much as I like Bruno, no matter how good you are, the intensity of the Prem is a big adjustment coming from a slower league. Salah Ahmed, Mark, I've already put Bruno in my fantasy Premier League team and going to leave him until the end of the season. For sure, I'm predicting 15 goal and assists this season. Ari Guadalia, you can bring Messi and we still will be inconsistent. Our coaching staff is absolutely terrible. We have 34 points in February. And Adam Arno says, why are we even after these players? Rashford has been playing left wing. Surely a priority should be a winger. And Udit Bhatnagar, not relevant with United now, but Jose wanted Rose for the past 2 years, then ends up loaning him. Yeah, that's a good point from Udit, actually. But yeah, I always thought that about this persistence to sign a striker, because Rashford does play on the wing. And there's plenty of wingers out there we could have gone for if we had any bloody money, but clearly we don't. But yeah, I mean, just going back to what we were talking about there, the will Bruno make a big difference to Manchester United? I think he will. I think everybody's right to say that you've got to be patient with him. I mean, Gary Neville, we were talking about him a moment. He said, got to be patient. January transfer windows, they do take time to adjust. So everybody should be patient, but I don't think we do need to be patient. I actually expect him to hit the ground running. I do. And I know that's a very big expectation, but I just do think the type of player he is, he will hit the ground running. And he will be, like Paul says, he will be a bit like Pogba in the way that I think our strikers will start to make runs that they don't make at the moment. I mean, if you're Anthony Martial and Dan James, you're very rarely going to spin and run when you know that Lingard, Pereira or Mata are going to get it, because they're just not that sort of player to play that sort of 30-40 yard pass at pace. and accurately. So he will make a difference in that. But ultimately, you know, how ironic would it be that we go to a back five now when we've been playing 4-2-3-1 and we finally get a player who can play in that number 10 position? So I still have massive concerns about the coaching of Manchester United. But anything could happen. Anything could happen in this last 4.5 hours, but also anything could happen in Manchester United's season. If Chelsea keep dropping points, that top 4 door could open up again. And would you buy Angel Correa as a striker, Mark? Says Damien Morgan. I don't know much about him, to be honest. People sometimes do chuck names in, and I'm just like, who the hell are you talking about? Fernandez.
I know what you mean.
But sometimes they do chuck names in there that don't exist to try and get me go, yeah, he's a good player. So if I'm not sure about someone, I just say I don't know much about them. Do you think we still need Grealish or Maddison, says Stephen Onchi? I think much depends on Pogba in the summer, to be honest, with that.
Which one would you take, Mark?
I tell you what, I wouldn't be at this point.
It's a tough one.
I wouldn't be unhappy with either of them. I've watched them quite a lot, and I really enjoyed the 2 Leicester versus Villa games in the Carabao Cup. They were crap games in relation to entertainment, but to watch both players was really, really quite rewarding. And I think what you've got with Grealish and Maddison is where they're similar is they both beat the front man they're both very good at corners. I think Grealish is more physical and tenacious, and I think Maddison is better on the ball because he's got a lower centre of gravity. I think it's been very interesting wherever they end up, who becomes the better player. Because I think although they're not similar, I wouldn't be unhappy with either, but I probably would go Maddison. I don't know about you.
I'll go Grealish, and I think we're waiting for Aston Villa to drop down to the Championship to get him on the cheap.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Yeah, Maddison would be very expensive, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would be, but I think I'd slightly lean towards more your opinion, Mark. I think Maddison, for me, is slightly, potentially the technically better player, but as you say, I wouldn't be unhappy with either of them. And as you say, Grealish would probably be more affordable. But
I think also with Grealish
is something we haven't got. Yeah. Maddison's very similar to Bruno, whereas Grealish is a real... He drives the team forward when he gets on the ball.
More of a leader,
he
isn't he?
Pushes the entire team up the pitch, and he's a very strong... dominating fella on the ball, and that's what we need, as well as the creativity.
I think in relation to Grealish, what impresses me is probably what you're talking about there, is that he's sort of been through his work experience. He did a bit in the Premier League, and he was almost a cameo player for Villa. A lot of Villa fans got fed up with him actually at the start because he wasn't a regular. He'd come on, bit of a fancy Dan. Then he went in the Championship and played a lot, and the Championship is a hard league. It really is an apprenticeship. And then he's come into the Premier League in a team that's struggling, and his stats still stand up to James Maddison, who is in the top 3. So he's more tenacious, he's more of a battler, and he's more of a leader. And actually, what personality suits Manchester United better at the moment? Well, we need more leaders, so Grealish probably would be better. I've got a few super chats just to read as well. Jordan Such says, Mark, at the start of this transfer window, would you have taken Al Cesar? Villarreal got him for 90 million, and I believe Spurs were interested in him also. The trouble is there, Jordan, someone's had to pay money. We ain't got any money. I don't believe for 1 minute we wanted to spend money on King. I think we were trying to get him on loan. Shaveen says, I really feel all the names mentioned today are just a smokescreen to show that the club is trying their best to sign someone. They ain't fooling me. We'll come back to that one from Shaveen. Remind me of that one. Josh Sutton says, a lot will also depend on what role Ollie gives him in the team as well, to be honest, in relation to Bruno. Dylan Mezet says, the thing is, King would be happy enough to sit on the bench when Rashford back. Mertens will want to be first choice striker, which won't be the case. And United Gamer says, can we not use Bruno as a false 9 for the time being, just like Bobby, and let him feed Martial, Greenwood and James? I mean, just going back to that Mertens thing, really. I mean, even if Rashford does come back, why would Mertens not play on the right-hand side and James go on the bench? I mean, James has been pretty poor recently, I think. What was that point I was going to come back to from Shaveen? I've forgotten it now.
Fake news, Mark.
The one about how they're not fooling him with these are all smokescreen.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say to you two and everybody as well. Would you rather the club just said we're not signing anybody, or would you rather actually go through the banter if we're trying to sign a Garlo? I think I'd rather they just said we're not signing anybody actually, because I think the Garlo thing is just so... actually, if you look around social media, journalists who are Manchester United journalists are even ridiculing it. So I mean, it's disappointing we're not going to get a striker, of course, but I think that I'd rather the club, if we're not getting anybody and we're just putting feelers out there to try and make it look like we are, I'd rather we weren't. I mean, some of the players we've been linked to, it's just bloody embarrassing, to be honest.
I agree with that. It's the names that, if they said, oh, you know, we're trying to sign Mertens or someone of that caliber, you'd be like, you know what, they're really going for it. But they're not even doing that. They're going, yeah, let's go for a Garlo Slimani or a Josh King. So it's not, these aren't hopeful names, are they? They're sort of names where you go, God, we really are shit at the moment, aren't we? So yeah, I'd agree with you. And as Gary Neville said on that tweet, I don't know how many years ago it was, it just smells of desperate. It just smells of panic, and we might be panicking, but you don't let that out into the media, and it really just smell of that at the moment.
Yeah, and the panic's caused by the people who are trying to fix it as well, allegedly trying to fix it. So our poor last summer, we knew we needed 2 midfielders and a striker because we let people go, and we didn't do anything about it. So we come to January and we sign a very much needed creative midfielder 2 days before the end of the window. I mean, it's all just shouts, ineptitude and mismanagement. But because we got Bruno, we're all on a high. But there's a backstory to it, and I'm not taking away anything from the Bruno high because I'm loving it. But also the mismanagement is there for everybody to see.
It's going to be really funny, actually, because as I said before, the Bruno Fernandes deal in itself is exceptional. Of course it is, and we're all very excited about it. None more so than me, but as I said last night, when it was around this time that it was announced, wasn't it? As I said last night, we should have done this deal in the summer. This is a signing that would have made the summer good. This January transfer window should have been about the striker. So United, we talk about how many years it's going to take for United to get back, but we're always behind because what we should have done last summer we're doing in this window, and the striker's going to be coming in the summer. So the player that we should be getting in the summer probably waits till January. There's not any urgency there. So I remember somebody saying this the other week. There's no urgency with Manchester United. Manchester City just went and spent the money to get the players they want, and sometimes it took them 2 or 3 right backs to get the right one. But they didn't mess about. They weren't slow at it. And Ollie got asked about this in the press conference at the start of the week, and it was like, why does it take time, Ollie? Why does it take time for United to get the players that they want when other clubs just go out and get them? And he said, oh, that's just not the way we do it here. But is that... Well, no, we do it wrong, don't we? We do it in this weird, patient, sort of over-analytical way. And we never quite get where we need to go. And therefore, as I always say, tomorrow never comes. This future dream that we're talking about, we never see it because we're always playing catch-up. And, I think we're so slow in our evolution that we're never going to catch up. Because teams above us are not standing still either. So you've got to be quicker.
You know what it is, Mark?
You've got to be quicker than everyone else if you want to catch them.
It's very boring, what I'm going to say, but with our financial situation in terms of dividends of being on the stock market, you have to have a certain amount of revenue and a certain amount of money in the bank and a certain amount of leverage against the debt that you have to be able to pay out those dividends. So you have to spend money wisely, and you can't spend it all at once because you need a gravy train and a flow of cash. And that's their first thought, dividends, and then after that, players. So it sounds stupid, boring, but I think that influences our transfers a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just another sign of the mismanagement, or not mismanagement, just the issue at United, isn't it? The fact that the club's bought on a huge loan and that we're ever paying that back, and it's just so frustrating because I've said this in a fan cam before. It's just so frustrating because you feel so powerless that these owners, you can swing your green and yellow scarves around, you can protest and all this, but we've done that before, and I just feel trapped in this club by these owners that aren't giving us anything back at all. I want owners that love the club, that will invest, that will really take care of the club and appreciate it as much as us fans do, but we don't have that. And that is so demoralising. That's a sad state at the moment, isn't it?
Well, we've got a video going up tomorrow. Tony and Saeed are doing it in relation to the walkout tomorrow. And I haven't spoke to Saeed for about a day, but he was very... that's not too hot, is it? He was very adamant. Well, Saeed actually turned up to the... the protest march in the summer where about 5 people turned up. So I presume Zaid's going to walk out the ground tomorrow because he believes that's the right thing to do. As he says, Graziano Pelle will be the next striker alliance too. Yeah, he's in China as well. So I think that if you look at the situation at United a week ago, or the last couple of weeks, we've had the chanting in the ground, we've had this talk of a walkout. And I think if United hadn't signed any player today, if United had signed nobody, so no Bruno Fernandes or anything, I think there would have been protests and walkouts tomorrow. I think because we've signed Bruno Fernandes, there won't be anything. And that is dangerous because that shows the club how easy it is to turn the tide with the fans. Ultimately, if you're unhappy with the club, you should still be unhappy with the club because we're still where we are in the league. We're still not playing great football. And it'll be a miracle if one player changes all that. But the mood has changed. You can feel it on social media. You can feel it when you're talking to United fans. I know tomorrow not many people will walk out that ground. Hardly anybody will. And yet, if we hadn't signed Bruno Fernandes, I think a lot of people would. So it just shows you how manipulated these people can be. Because that one signing, which should have happened in the summer, has totally changed how people feel. And the reset button starts again.
It's like taking advantage of a child, isn't it? Like, we are, because we're fans, naturally we're going to, not flip-flop, but we're going to be influenced. We love signings, of course we do, and it would be wrong if we didn't. So naturally, when we do sign someone of the caliber of Bruno Fernandes, the mood is going to be lifted up, and it's just clear manipulation by the club. You know, as you said, Mark, earlier, the whole Instagram and social media thing of Bruno Fernandes, they're just rinsing it dry, and they're manipulating us to try and make us feel like, oh, you know, we finally taken a step forward, and it is a step forward, but it isn't a leap. And we need leaps to get back to where we want to be, and it's only a small step. So it's just really, really, it's disgusting to see, to be honest, from the board. It is disgusting because they've rinsed this club dry, and the club is so full of passion and love and absolute just emotion, and they've just taken it all out and just made it into a business, and it is disgusting to see.
And 47 million
as well, Mark.
Go on.
No, just a small thing. Sometimes you feel a little bit of anxiety when you speak out against the club whilst something positive is already happening as well. You know, I do. Bruno's signed. You feel as if you have to be on the bandwagon of the Bruno train, rather than also realising that the problems aren't fixed, you know. There's a certain wave that you kind of expected to carry and then come down, and then you can start complaining again. Whereas Bruno's signing, nothing's changed and nothing's been fixed if you look at it objectively. So, you know, that's how I feel sometimes as well. Don't get me wrong, I'm buzzing about the Bruno thing, but the underlying problems are still there, and you can't deny it.
Makes me laugh because you get all these people who say, "Oh, unfollow United on Twitter, uninstall the app," and then you see Bruno Fernandes signing and all the tweets they've done and the amount of interaction it's got, and you think, yeah, that must have really made an impact. All those people who've unfollowed them on Twitter because they're getting record interaction for signing Bruno Fernandes. So, you know, these are businessmen. They know what to do. And that 47 million they've spent on Bruno Fernandes will come back in bucket loads in interaction and brand exposure and shirt sales and everything, and everyone will be very happy. Munir Abraham says, put James striker in, of Bruno, feed him. James has great pace to run behind defenders. Martial and Rashford play better in the wing position. I wanted to come back to that for a moment. So just in relation to transfers at the moment, we've got about 4 hours 20 left. At the moment, it's looking like nobody or a gala, but that could change, so we'll keep you updated with that. But just talking about James for a moment, we did speak about Martial, and I think that one thing I wanted to do, because it is transfer related, I remember when we signed, when Jose Mourinho came in and he bought in Pogba, Mkhitaryan, Eric Bailly and Zlatan, and after about 5 months, everyone was like, he's amazing. I remember doing a video and saying, he's amazing, Mourinho, because when you make a signing, if you make 4 signings, one of them will flop. In fact, 2 of them might flop. Because if you look at percentage success rates with signings, if you've got anything over 70%, you've done really well. Because look at any club's signings, go through them all, And I bet you won't get above 70% of them have done well, because that's just the way it is when you buy players. So if you buy 4, one of them's definitely going to flop. And I remember saying that. I said, well, he's bought 4 players and they're all looking really good. That's brilliant from Mourinho. And I think a year after that, you could look at those same 4 signings and say they were all flops for various reasons. Mkhitaryan was a flop. Zlatan had got himself injured and gone. Pogba was Mr. Inconsistent, and Eric Bailly was always injured. So I always said this at the start of the season when everyone said, stick with Ollie. He needs more money to make more signings because all of his signings have been a success. And at the first couple of months, I think Dan James, Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka did look like they were a success. But I think when you look at them now, it's a bit of a different story, isn't it? I think Dan James has been pretty poor for 2 months. Harry Maguire was bad for 2 months. I think recently he's looked really good again. And Wan-Bissaka's looked the best of the lot. But I think in recent weeks, he's looking a bit off. And my theory is it's just to do with the fact that they've been thrown into a very difficult situation and they've been overplayed. So it'd be interesting to see where those 3 signings are, maybe at Christmas time. Are they still successful? Are they dropping off?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And for me, Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire are only going to get better. There are faults in their performances, but as is everyone's. But for me, Daniel James, I think he's a good player. It's just going forward. He is still young, but going forward, he won't win you the league. I don't think he starts in a title-winning team. So as long as he's coming off on the bench and used in very specific situations, he could be a good player for us. He just needs to be utilised correctly. And at the moment, because of our lack of squad depth and injuries and lack of signings, he's just being used over and over and over again. When really, he's not that player.
Yeah, and there's a lot of inconsistencies throughout the league, like Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, Pulisic. There's Pepe. He's had spurts. You have to judge over an entire season, maybe even 18 months, to get the full gauge of exactly how players are going to do. But you can tell, normally within the first 6 months, if they're going to be on the right trajectory. And I think Daniel James might have a low ceiling. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's got a very high ceiling, but they're all going to be good players. Are they going to be title-winning players? That's we'll determine that after about 18 months. But you're right, Mark. It takes a little bit of time to define a player and exactly what they are. Definitely.
And I think with Dan James, he's still quite young, isn't he? I think with Dan James, he sort of suffered from Rashford and Martial's inability to break the nose. Like Ollie said the other night, he wants a striker to break their nose. There was a time when Dan James was putting so many good crosses in. And I think at the moment, he's sort of tired, lack of confidence, etc. So, yeah, it's interesting to see with Dan James. I still think that he's been a decent signing for the price we paid. It was almost like, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work, but apparently we've got a bit of news war coming in, so I'm just gonna have a quick look on social media.
The thing with Dan James as well and Ollie's signings, I think if Pep Guardiola signs a player, Claudio Bravo, these sorts of players, and they don't work, Angelino, he's now gone back on loan. Pep Guardiola gets the funds to sort of buy another player. If that doesn't work, buy another player. At Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Jose Mourinho, and Van Gaal, they don't have that luxury, and I think they've got hands tied behind their back.
Yeah,
we haven't got that sort of money. Sorry,
it's outrageous, isn't it? That's outrageous. We should be one of the biggest clubs in the world. We earn some of the most money in the world, and the fact that we're sort of tight for cash is just again testament to the mismanagement of the club.
I can't see.
Yeah, Man City are owned by a country. You can never compete with that. It doesn't matter as a business, what you do. But we're being bled dry. We are a cash machine, aren't we?
We are. France Football are talking about Manchester United and Igala as well. So for all those Igala fans out there, and I know to a lot of you out there, this will be a dream come true, and you actually can't believe it. Forget being linked to Dybala or anything like that. Igala, I mean, you've been dreaming about this.
Come on, Mark, it's killing me. Suspense.
No, somebody said something about a Simon Stone tweet, but there's nothing going on.
From Dybala to Igala, mate.
It's a book. You could write a book,
It doesn't
couldn't you?
sound right, does it?
It's like
Terrible,
saying
isn't it?
from I don't know, from New York to Stoke. It's like that, isn't it? You know, think of some shit journeys out there. There's got to be plenty. From a bottle of red wine to a bottle of piss. You know, it's not good, is it? We apparently, I was reading the other day that we were very close to signing Dybala, and.
Do you want that deal to have gone through then? Now looking back on it,
Dybala.
Hello,
I would have took Dybala in the summer, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Listen, Mark,
because there was argument.
question for you.
Sorry, go on, Paul. Go on.
Sorry, yeah, just in terms of, we signed Bruno now. How much more pressure is on Ollie now he's got Bruno in his locker? You know, because we're all talking about tomorrow, like it's Bruno's opening day of his career and we're going to smash Wolves. What if we lose? I know it's not a great thought, but, you know, is there more pressure on Ollie to perform now? Does he have to get top four now he's got Bruno? Is he more likely to lose his job if he doesn't?
Well, let's spend
What's
a
the
few minutes
dynamics of
talking about that, because we are obviously keeping an eye on the Igala situation. I think some people are actually counting the minutes down, hoping it doesn't happen, but there you go. But with regards to Solskjaer and his future at Manchester United, I think that we will win tomorrow, because I think you get a feeling about a game, and I think that I just feel we'll win tomorrow. You know, like you can almost tell we're going to win tomorrow. I don't know how we'll win, but I think we will win. And what Solskjaer's future is, I mean, look, a lot of people feel that, you know, Spurs nearly bought Bruno Fernandes in the summer, and Pochettino was the manager. So does that mean that this is a Pochettino signing? Of course not. Of course it doesn't. But I also think it doesn't hinder the situation if Ollie does crap and we get Pochettino in, that our January signing was a player that he wants anyway. So we know that Pochettino is available in the summer, and we know he's not going anywhere until the summer. And we also know that Solskjaer has had the worst ever start to a Premier League season as a Manchester United manager, which should not be forgotten. This is not an okay season. This is the worst Premier League season we've ever had. What he does between now and May has to define his future. I think if this continues to be as the first 5 months of the season, then how can he stay in the job unless he somehow scams top four? We've got to see an improvement in results, and Bruno Fernandes will improve us. And actually, when you look at a lot of the games that we've dropped points in, they have been quite tight. So conceivably, Bruno in the team could give us that extra little bit in every game to turn losses into draws and draws into wins. It's going to be very interesting. I think United have got a decision to make, and it's a very similar decision to what they did with Van Gaal, who many people wanted Van Gaal out at this time, and we knew Mourinho was available. And then Van Gaal won the FA Cup. We didn't get top four, and Mourinho came in. Will the club think that was the wrong decision last time, so we're not going to do it? Or will they go and let history repeat itself? I don't know. I mean, what do you two think? What does everyone else think? What do you think it's going to take for Ollie to stay in the job? Or do you know, some people think Ollie will be in the job no matter what next season.
I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because if you look at our league position, let's say we do end up fifth. That's where we are at the moment. Let's say we end up fifth. It's not to the standards of Manchester United. Anything outside, you know, the top one is a subpar season for us, isn't it? We should always be aiming to win the league. But I would argue that I think we've probably got the fifth best team in the league, man for man. Now you could argue maybe we're better than Chelsea, but I don't think we're better than Leicester, Liverpool, City. So I think, you know, if he finishes fifth, he's kind of done what he's got with his team. So if you get better players, naturally you're going to get a better league position. So I think he will be here next season. I think the minimum requirement for myself to be happy with the season is a trophy or Champions League football. So if we finish fifth and win the FA Cup, I would be happy with that. I'd say, you know, he's got a trophy under his belt. We just missed out top four, but we've got a trophy. So that's for myself. But I think he will be here next season regardless.
Yeah, I just think expectations at the beginning of the season, we were all saying if he gets top six with what he has at the moment, then I think he's doing okay. Have we changed? Well, have I changed my opinion? I think with Bruno Fernandes now, I think without anybody else really properly strengthening, I have the expectation that Ollie should get top 4 because it's going to be handed to us. It's going to be in our hands. If we get a good run of results, everybody else is fluctuating, we can get top 4. So only Ollie can throw it away. And if he throws it away, then, how are Man United going to view that? Did they say, we'll get you Bruno, but you get top 4? Was there an ultimatum there? We'll never know, but we'll find out.
Mashuk says, can we talk about Willian Jose? Well, we can, but he's staying at Real Sociedad. Manny97.
Never heard of him, to be honest, Mark.
No, I hadn't really. Manny97 says Pogba and Ibrahimovic aren't flops. Mark, he and Abra won us 2 cups. Mickey included in the first season. 60 plus goals contribution in 3 seasons isn't a flop. Manny, Pogba's a flop, and Mkhitaryan was definitely a flop. Deal with it. And Rahul V says Ed thought appointing Ollie will protect him and board, but it has been the reverse. Fans are more angry at Ed now than ever. I was joking with Manny a little bit there, but Mkhitaryan was a definite flop. Come on. And as for Pogba, he's a flop by his own standards because he's a £90 million player who was brought in to be the pivotal role in the team, and we didn't build a team around him, and he has been massively inconsistent. And I love Pogba, I really do, but it's a relationship that we should have ended in the summer. He wanted to go, and that's, we put all our eggs into one basket with Pogba in the summer. I remember doing a video at the start of the season, and I said Manchester United's season rests in the hands of Paul Pogba. So everyone who's having a go at him should stop because he will dictate this season, and he has. By not playing and being injured, he's dictated our season because we would have been a much better team with him in it. Josh Sutton says, I'm not sure what Ollie gets paid, but I'm sure you'll find it's far less than what Poch would demand. Dollar signs speak louder to the Glazers and Woody, and it's not Champions League. Ed will get Poch to please the sponsors, says Ahmed Hamad. I agree with Ahmed. I think that if United don't get Champions League football, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will do well to keep his job. And more of that will be about, because Xander might be right. They might say, we'll keep him. But if you've got any brains, and if we don't get Champions League football, and you're not that confident that you're going to get it next year, I think they will make a change. Thoughts on Chan to Dortmund, the deal itself? Shrewd, says Niall Green. 25 million? To be honest with you, Chan did come out and say that he probably couldn't play for United because of the Liverpool link, but I always said he was the right player to go for. He can play holding midfield, box-to-box midfield. He's only 25, got lots of experience, Premier League proven, German international, exactly what we needed, and 25 million quid. Dortmund have won the transfer window, haven't they? Let's be honest. Dortmund have absolutely won the worldwide transfer window because they've got Haaland and Emre Can for 40 million, just over. And they're brilliant at signing players anyway, Dortmund. So, yeah. Shaveen says, if we get top 4, it's a mixture of luck and inconsistency of our rivals, not Ollie's tactics. Can't expect other clubs to be consistent again next season. Udit Baglaga says, with the amount of games Lingard got this season, finishing 5th is a great achievement for any manager. Yazar Said says, Mark, you said yourself that with this squad and this was before the season, before the injuries, that we'll finish 6th. Imagine if Ollie gets top 4. And Imrano TV, most of the teams this season have been subpar, so finishing top 4 will overshadow how inadequate Ollie for the job. Next season, United will slip away. A few people saying that the quality of the league this season has allowed United to stay in a race they don't deserve to be in. Well, we do deserve to be in it because everyone else is crap as well. So we do deserve to be in the race, but I think, as I said before, this is our worst ever Premier League start and we're still in the race for top 4. So, yeah, there's a real issue with the quality of the Premier League this year. I think Liverpool are good, but I actually don't think they're great. I really don't. I think Liverpool are good, but I can't believe they've won every single game apart from one. That's ridiculous. But then you look at the quality of the Premier League. Chelsea are 4th and they've lost 8 games. So it's been a very, very poor league, and I think that's why if I was United manager and I was the United board members, I'd be like, we have got a massive opportunity here. We've almost been given a second chance. We could go and buy a striker and we could really tear the second half of the league up and get into the Champions League. But we never seem to do that, do we, Paul? We never seem to look like a club that gets the football side of things, and yet we profess to be business. You could spend 30 million on a striker now, or 50 million on a striker now and get it straight back by being in the Champions League in 5 months. But we don't seem to see that. We never seem to see that side of things. It's always about saving money in the short term.
Yeah, and we never will with Ed Woodward at the wheel, because he's the one who's overshadowed. He's dealt with this Bruno Fernandes debacle when we could have had him in the summer for less money. I don't know if you've listened to the transfer